Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle, me. In my new series, Year 2020. Year 2020 Rick Miracle Report, number 7. I changed my little backdrop because I want to talk about a different topic. I'm going to flip-flop back and forth between these different topics. But I'm reading another Contact magazine. British mind control plot to overthrow America. Freemasonry, Nazis, MK Ultra. There's a lot of stuff that I've researched in the past 15 years, going on 16 years. Trying to get oriented correctly here. So the all-seeing eye. Behind me, the pyramid, the rays of light, the serpent, the pyramids on the ground behind me. What does all that mean? Why, if you look at the back of your dollar bill, do you see that eye and the rays behind it and the pyramid? And why on the dollar bill are there 13s everywhere? You know, 13 is supposed to be an evil sign, an evil number. 13 witches in a coven. And used to be 13 astrological signs. Now we have 12 signs like Aquarius or Sagittarius or Leo, etc. So which astrological sign did they delete from the 13 signs? Because there are usually 13 moons in a year, so there were 13 signs. Apparently the one they deleted was the constellation of the serpent, Orpheus. So no matter where you turn, there's a lot of mysteries here. So I was reading this Contact magazine, the Phoenix Journal. You can go to the 4winds10.com or look up the Phoenix Journals and get this website. But from 1990 to 1999, they were publishing these journals and these magazines and these reports. Started out as the Liberator, then there was some politics involved in the people doing it. They got shut down, and the people involved continued it and called it the Contact, and then they published the Phoenix Journals for over 10 years. So thousands of documents, free PDF if you go online. My attempt here is to share this material, introduce people to this whole conversation, and get people motivated to go get these journals or these Contact magazines or these other documents, the Liberator, and read this stuff and research it for yourself. I don't make any money off of this. I had 2 donations in 15 years, one for $100 and one for $11.11. That's crazy. But anyways, the idea is, from my point of view, is that we're under attack. They plan on bringing about a global world order. 911 seems to be an obvious inside job. Since World War II, the powers that be have been heavily involved in psychological warfare, mind control, and now they're coming out with the 5G and artificial intelligence, and they're going to take mind control and human control to a whole new level, so it seems. So anyways, the Contact magazine, the Phoenix Project, November 15th, 1994, British mind control plot to overthrow America. So I happen to know a lot because I've been doing a lot of research. So a lot of this information I know, and I've made book reviews on, I've made New World Order videos on. I've made sky spraying chemtrail videos on. I've had live streaming show for 2 months before YouTube shut me down. And in July 2019, they shut down my whole channel with no strikes against me. And they shut down a lot of other people's channels, and it's been in the news. Fake news with Facebook and Twitter, and manipulating the public, brainwashing people. People believe things that are not true. And so they can vote the wrong way, think the wrong way, hate the wrong people, approve the wrong thing, because they're not educated as to what's really going on. So I make my small attempt here to discuss these things and see if we can figure it out. But these symbols, like this little curtain behind me, tells us a lot, just like the symbols on the back of the dollar bill. By the way, if you go to the United States Post Office, you'll see the plaque on the wall with the pyramid and the eye and all that stuff. What's going on? So the British mind control plot to overthrow America. Let's talk about what this article says. See if we can make some sense out of it. Travis Stock, Freemasonry, Nazis, MK Ultra. And like I said, I've been researching 15 years. These words are familiar to me. So the author, George Sneers, and usually there's somebody writing an article for the Contact magazine, and apparently telepathically, sometimes hand-on, communicates through the Dharma of Contact magazine and critiques what the author wrote, what the author believes or theorizes. So you get somebody who's doing research, trying to tell the story, then you got this interdimensional entity, Anton, apparently in some huge galactic federation ship outside the planet's atmosphere, trying to tell people the actual truth and critique the author's article, if that all makes sense. My purpose is for us just to have a conversation. I've made book reviews on over a couple hundred books, had 600 or 700 videos on YouTube, over 1,000 hours, and I was shut down along with a lot of other people the middle of 2019. And this is January 23rd, Thursday, the year 2020, and there's a lot of prediction that the huge event, I don't know, it could be World War III or some kind of economic collapse worldwide, or martial law, or all kinds of predictions, gloom and doom, global warming, ice age, a worldwide, planet-wide collapse. So it might behoove us to pay attention and look into it and ask some questions, demand some answers. All right, so George Sears wrote this in 11/11/94, and he says, "My most important job these days is to present information sorted from piles of documents and make sure the material utilized is valid and is in reference to the appropriate focus to the best of my ability." And that's what I'm doing. I've gone over this material again and again, year after year, since 2005. Shared the videos on YouTube since 2013. Prior to that, since 2011, posting pictures and videos of the chemtrailing dumping of stuff into the sky, apparently controlling the weather, and polluting the ground, the trees, for the bugs, birds, bees, fish, humans, causing asthma and other kinds of health issues, heavy metals, fluoride, bromium, strontium. So we're under attack, so it seems. So let's see what this article says. The material we offer here today is a direct copy job from the Executive Intelligence Review, October 7th, 1994. So there were other people looking into WTH. What the heck is going on? People have seen it. It's obvious. It is offered in the EIR, the Executive Intelligence Review, as a feature article. We do not have information from a journal, as this article has been sent by copy to us. The New Federalist, P.O. Box, Leesburg, Virginia. I'm giving you the brief description of what it says here. The information offered is usually in a dead heat with John Coleman's work and has proven to be accurate. I suggest that any of you who do not have the works of John Coleman get them. And I think I made a book review or two on John Coleman's books. And so it says, see plot to overthrow America, page 65. So as you can see here, I've been reading this. So I've pre-read it. My videos are only 30 minutes these days, so I won't get very far. But maybe we can have a conversation and know what to think. And if you disagree or agree, there's a comment section. If you hear some things I say and you don't believe me or you think it's interesting, have a notebook, write these things down, go look it up, and maybe you'll find out that, like this little curtain I got behind me, that you can go online and buy on Amazon or other places, or even in some of these new age stores. All this stuff is real. All right, British psychiatry, from eugenics to assassination. So eugenics, they want to eliminate any kind of humans that they deem inferior to the selected humans they want the earth to be populated by. And assassinations, they want to, they're assassinating people who try to expose their pursuit of a global world order. And they appear to be part of a serpent type of religion, apparently also involved in the false flag or fake news, UFO, alien activity going on in the world. It's not true. Reality that they would have you believe is not true. We need to wake up. All right, full credit for this article goes to Anton Chatkin, Chaitkin. Any remarks will be in brackets, although I shall take the liberty to stress passages or points. The reason for this is that our ongoing focus in Contact has been geared to these very subjects, and most recently, symbology. You see the symbols behind me? Symbology. The symbols on the back of the dollar bill. The symbols on the buildings in Washington, D.C. The symbols on buildings all over the country. I've made book reviews on these topics. It's everywhere. Serpents, gargoyles. It's all real. Recent symbology has been offered dealing with the secret societies. We got these Freemason Masonic lodges and other secret society buildings everywhere, even with the big eyes on them. Do people not think that this is a concerning thing when the serpent people control our world? And they are into mind control. Listen to this. A behavioral control research project was begun in the 1950s, coordinated by the British Psychological Warfare unit called the Tavistock Institute. So they have whole institutes working towards mind control and programming the population, you and me. They plan on a global world order. They've been bringing us all this propaganda, UFOs, aliens, sustainability, peak oil, economic collapses. They're keeping us so confused it actually could make a lot of people dizzy and sick, and it probably has. Nobody knows what to believe. With the Scottish Rite Masons, so they got the Scottish Rite Masons back in 1994 on this article, tied in with the Tavistock Institute that's into psychological warfare. And of course the enemy today is we the people. Central Intelligence Agency, and other British, US, Canadian, and United Nations agencies. The project became famous in the 1970s under a CIA code named MK Ultra. They were actually fooling around with people's brains in mental institutions, and people who were depressed or alcoholics or sick were unknowingly put under drugs and confined and experimented on, many of them to the detriment of their death or completely blank memories or mentally ill, requiring to be hospitalized, incarcerated for the rest of their life. The goal was to get people under their control that could even be programmed to go out and assassinate people and programmed to do so many things, particularly since the war in Korea, where apparently the Koreans, North Korea, were able to program and cause a lot of prisoners to tell all that they knew or even defect and want to join their groups. So apparently mind control was a big issue. And it was during the World War II in the Hitler regime. And it was obviously even before that, where they had a lot of genetic eugenics laws requiring certain peoples be sterilized so they couldn't produce. So this is not a new issue. There are some forces trying to bring about some kind of selected superior race to planet Earth. The project became famous in the 1970s under the CIA codename MK Ultra. They actually had congressional hearings on this stuff. MK-Ultra, U-L-T-R-A. It's notorious for brainwashing by drugs, hypnosis, electroshock, and other tortures caused many books to be written about the project, and the U.S. Senate conducted hearings which exposed many of the abusive features. I've made book reviews on some of these books about these topics. And remember, this article was written in 1994. This is the year 2020. So another 40 years of research they've had, and they've perfected this, and I think it has a lot to do with artificial intelligence and the 5G computer transmitters, receivers, monitoring cameras everywhere. We're in for a fun ride when they turn this switch on, and anybody who's deemed a threat to these people will be targeted. They know everything that we say, we hear. If you hold up your cell phone, it's listening to you. Your TV, the cameras, your car. Look it up. Don't believe me on this stuff. All right. President Gerald Ford appointed a commission headed by Vice President Nelson Rockefeller to correct the CIA's misconduct. So the CIA's MK Ultra program became public in the 70s. So apparently the Vice President Rockefeller, there's the fox watching the henhouse, and Gerald Ford, who became president because President John Kennedy was assassinated. So more fox watching the henhouse. And the public became aware of MK Ultra. So to save face, they had to say they're investigating. The Rockefellers, however, are the prime supporters and financiers of the coalition. Again, the fox watching the henhouse. There is a widespread anti-establishment view at the time that here was the fox appointed to guard the henhouse. You know where I got that from. The intelligence agencies offered a public rationale for the project: the need to counteract and compete with the mind control capabilities of the communist. So they brought about the communist as a threat so they could beef up the military and secret government that runs our world's power to combat the communist, when I have discovered, like the Republicans and Democrats in the United States, both controlled by the same corporations. The communists and the conservatives and all the other peoples are all controlled by the elite banksters, which are the Illuminati. That's the symbols behind me. They control all the leaders of the countries. The people we see as leaders are puppets. There's a secret cabal of people behind the scenes running things. This was largely based on the fact that the U.S. personnel held prisoner by the enemy in the Korean War had signed false confessions of crimes, and some had defected to North Korea, and the apparent result of brainwashing. The Manchurian Candidate, I think a lot of people have seen the movie The Manchurian Candidate, a 1959 book which was made into a popular movie in 1962, reflected this rationale. It told the story of a communist plot to use a U.S. soldier brainwashed in Manchuria as a zombie assassin to kill the leading U.S. presidential candidate. So just think about all these bombings and shootings by these so-called crazy people. Oops, I got interrupted by the phone. So you don't know if these people who are usually under psychiatric care and medications, and they wind up getting a hold of a weapon and shooting up a church or a school or something like that. You don't know if these people are actually under some kind of test programs to create these Manchurian candidates. Brainwashed people who will go out there and shoot things up or bombs or whatever. And it does seem to me from my investigation and other people's that these people were under medical care and apparently under drugs, and could very well have been programmed, some of them individuals. Again, bringing about these events to convince we people in the public that we need to be policed and controlled and disarmed because, we can't be trusted. Well, I guess we can't be trusted if they can hypnotize or program people to do some of these insane things. So they were trying to create a Manchurian candidate to kill the leading U.S. presidential candidate. The central theme of the MK Ultra was to attempt to control the human mind in a similar way. Rick Martin reports that he checked out the videotapes, The Manchurian Candidate, this very week, and it was mind-blowing. Now that we know the facts, instead of treating it as a bit of sci-fi or fiction. Threatened and accomplished assassination of political leaders has become increasingly frequent in public life since the 1960s. Just since the 1992 election campaign, for example, Presidential Bill Clinton had been the target of at least 15 assassination attempts. Many of these would-be killers and many of the assassins of past years have been in destructive psychiatric programs, seeing a psychiatrist, and were members of the psychologists manipulating cults. The present threats are the most meaningful in the context of the British-led Whitewater scandal directed against the presidency. So even with the President Donald Trump we have now, and all these seemingly accusations and all of that, they just keep us on our toes, and so that we don't know what to think. The present threats are the more meaningful in the context of a British-led Whitewater scandal directed against the presidency. So much for Russia interfering with President Donald Trump's election. You got this stuff going on throughout any kind of recorded history of the past couple hundred years. It is a long past time for a thorough public inquiry into the assassination epidemic, whereby its relationship to the official project to create assassins would be fully explored. The great obstacle to clear thinking in this area has been the assumption that the U.S. government would not sponsor programs for the murder of American leaders. Well, it does seem like the inside people in America were part of the conspiracy to accomplish the 9/11 event. And for the purpose, as was talked about in the halls of the Pentagon, General Wesley Clark mentioned it, that they had planned to take down 7 different countries in the Middle East. And as we've all seen since 2001, they've certainly pretty much accomplished their goal, with Iran seeming to be the holdout. And now that's in the news and seems to be the next target. Syria didn't fall like the other countries, Iraq, Afghanistan, Tunisia, Libya, and so many others. It held out because Russia was behind Syria. So apparently they want to drag this thing out, just go on and on and on and on. In the meantime, they're making tons of money and getting closer to the global world order, deceiving all of us. Believe me, they could have taken out Syria right away if they'd have wanted to. But there's a bigger game afoot, and apparently we the people need to wake up. All right. Where was I here? So President Gerald Ford appointed a commission headed by Vice President Nelson Rockefeller to correct the CIA's misconduct. Rockefellers, however, are the prime supporters and financiers of the coalition. I said that earlier. And so the communists plot to use U.S. soldier brainwashed as Manchurian candidates, zombie assassins. And it says here, Rick Martin reports, mind-blowing, now that we know the facts. It is long past time. I don't get my place back, sorry. You can get this Contact magazine. This one here is 91 pages. And again, my purpose for making the video is to give you the source of material. British mind control plot to overthrow America. Look up the Phoenix Journals or 4winds10.com. And they had the Liberator magazine from 1990-91. And then the Contact magazine I'm reading from 92 up to 1999. And in the meantime, they made about 140 different Phoenix journals. I've collected several of these. I've made videos on these in my book review series. I'll be reading from these again. End of the Masquerade, Let's Pluck the Cuckoo Bird. It's a Phoenix journal. So I'm just having 30-minute conversations here to get people initiated, because as we know, the population moves on. People that were around in 1994 when this was written probably never even knew that these documents, these books, these journals exist, and all this information is available. You imagine 100-page free books on 4winds10.com in PDF that you can download and put on your computer and print them out like I do and read them. It gives you all the facts, free. Okay, so the MK Ultra has been foreign-sponsored and anti-American in its purpose. See, America was the last country in the world to stand up to the elite. So of course they had to take over the government and give us a puppet government. And they call it, even Donald Trump and other people mention it, but a lot of pundits these days will call it the deep state. It's real. This is their symbols. They're a serpent cult, And they're also part of the UFO alien propaganda, TV programming, deception, bringing us programs like Lucifer, Gotham. Totally bizarre. If you watch some of the newer materials on TV these days, it's more than bizarre. I have to go watch old programs just to be able to watch any kind of movies or shows. I can't watch the new stuff. It's too insane, too vicious. We shall outline here the British background on this deeply criminal enterprise with its roots in the political and psychiatric movement called eugenics. And I do have a speech impediment on some words. Okay, past leading figures of the British-backed Psychological Warfare Department, Brigadier General John Rawlings Rees, first president of the World Federation for Mental Health and director of the Travis Scott Institute. So apparently over there in Britain they have a Travis Scott Institute that specializes in mind control and feeding disinformation to the public, controlling what we perceive about reality. Headed by the Rockefeller-sponsored Kaiser Wilhelm Institute in Munich, Germany. So they have these institutes in Britain, and Germany, and France, and America. Dr. Nathan Klein, research psychiatrist at Columbia University, and it has parentheses the word Zionist here. It seems the Zionists are part of the serpent cult, part of the people who want the global world order. So I'm going to read one more paragraph here and end this video. 1909 to 1913, the build-up to World War I. John D. Rockefeller created the family-run Rockefeller Foundation. You know, you're talking about all the controls of the banking systems and oil companies. Rockefeller's right up there with the elite family of the Illuminati. The bloodlines of the 13 bloodlines, a book written by Fritz Springmeier, which I made videos on Fritz Springmeier's books, talks all about these serpent people and all the elite families. And so it starts out with just 13 at the top, and then it spreads down to 300, and then to thousands, and then to more controllers and agencies and police department and sheriff's offices and health control facilities and medical facilities, education, school systems. And then finally, of course, on the bottom is we the people, the public. So they have this system well under control, and they have been re-educating our youth. People today don't believe what people believed 40 years ago because they have been programmed to believe what they believe today. And the governments, as I'm reading here, were thoroughly invested in part of the redesigning the mind of we people and what we should perceive about reality. Out with God, out with Jesus, out with religion, and in with materialism, and in with UFOs and aliens, and in with global warming, sustainability, and all this terrorism. Most of it a huge deception. They keep letting the prisoners out of jail, cycling them through again and again and again, when they only constitute less than 1% of our population. They're using that to manipulate the other 99% of us. It's these people behind me that I've been making all these videos about. 1909, the British-inspired Federal Reserve and the Internal Revenue Service and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. So I'll stop there with this 30-minute video and point out, like it says in this article, these people that are behind the mind control programming, assassinations, and creating these Manchurian candidates to go out there and shoot or bomb or do crazy things. They need to keep everybody in fear. They want the global world order. They have to manipulate us and make us believe all this is true, whether it is global warming, sustainability, terrorist threats, biological threats, and so much more. Thank you for watching this video. I know it's bizarre, but what are you going to do?